All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello to the last stream of this series, I hope. Hopefully we should be able to finish this thing up today. And so just to make sure again that everybody can hear me okay. All right. We've got somebody from Peru. I've been to Lima. I've actually been there and to Machu Picchu, to Cusco as well. So saludos as well. And okay, so if anybody else can, so apparently maybe you can hear me on Facebook. That's great. And if you guys can hear me on other streams, that would be great. So if somebody can from Twitch and somebody from YouTube can just give a shout out to let me know that you can hear me fine. And then we can get started. All right. Okay, I'm still waiting. I guess I don't know if there's a little bit of a lag, but I just want to make sure everybody can hear me okay before we get started. Get my microphone situated here. All right. So YouTube is good. Thank you, Nitesh. And we just need to hear from folks at Twitch. And Renzo, if you can hear me, if you can just say you can hear me, that would be great. And if the audio level and everything is good, we can get started. All right, so still, let's see here. Nitesh, where are you tuning in from? All right, Tran 3D, thank you. Twitch is good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I guess we're good to go. I think Renzo, if you can hear me, let's see, San Francisco. Okay, cool. Scorpion Core Universe, thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay, so today we're going to finish this thing up. I don't know if you guys watched the previous streams. And if you didn't, you can watch them over and you can watch them again. They are available for you. They are available on multiple different locations, and I'm actually trying to get the browser page to show you guys. So you can see it on ZBrush Live. So if you go to ZBrush Live, so pixologic.com/ZBrush Live, and if you go to presenters, and under presenters, if you just scroll down and find me right here, you can just go to scroll down further on the page, and then you can see these are all the different ones. So here we are. This was the last one, episode 10, and today we're going to end it with 11. Okay, so that's one place to see it. You can also go to Pixologic's YouTube channel, and I'll just go there real quick as well, show you where that is. So here is Pixologic's channel. It tells me that I'm live now, which is great. But if you just go to videos, you can see all the different videos from all the different streamers, and you can find me here, and kind of here's the last one I did. Or you can just in here search by my name, and you can find them there as well. So if you want to get a hold of me for any reason, you can just go to my website, Kermaco.com. And all my social media, email, everything is up here. So if you want to kind of look at my work, it's over here. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can always email me or get a hold of me on Facebook, etc. My recent work, I usually post on Instagram, and the link to my Instagram is there. So here's the spinner that we did in season 2. And this is the robot that we did in season 1. So, and I have some renders of this spaceship as well. So if you want to keep a hold of me, then just subscribe to my Instagram channel or keep in touch with what I'm doing, and I'll usually post an image or so a week. I haven't been posting a lot lately, but I usually am pretty busy on Instagram, and I'm also redoing my website. All right, so if there's no questions, I'll go ahead and get started. Last time we kind of did a few interesting things. I had a few crashes at the beginning, and I figured out why that was. And it turns out that this subtool right here, this front part of the spaceship. So let me just go to that area right here. This one, which was giving us the trouble, was actually had some weird polygons that were causing the issues. So I figured it out and fixed it. So we're not going to have those issues today. And also I did some changes, not to the model. This was already done, but I added a few things, and I'll show you what those are. So the first thing I did was I added some text. So let me go ahead and turn all this stuff off, and so we can just kind of see what we're talking about. Right, so I added some text over here, and I painted the text on last time. So if you want to know how to paint text in, you can see that. But this time I thought it would be cooler if it was just like kind of part of the ship. So it basically just was geometry. So I used the text plugin in ZBrush to create this this geometry and create this look. Let me see here. I'm going to bump this down to 3. Okay, so you can see here that I've got the name of the ship as well as the number over here. I think we were going to call this and, but we've since kind of done some work on it, so I think this is looking a little bit better. So then the other thing that we did is we went ahead and added some lights. So I say we, it's just me. So and the lights, if I hide this, you can see it. It's this over here. So you can see the text, and lights are just these little cubes, right? And I used array mesh. I just put one down and then just created an array of them. So they're just things that I can assign a light material to, and they will light up the ship. We're going to do that soon in the Keyshot. Okay, so that's the front of the ship, and so this part by itself can go off and do its own things, and then there is the back part, which is over here, and I also added some lights to the back part as well. But I did do some paint work on it, but I thought I'd repaint it here because I actually I'm going to use some new tricks to paint it, and the other things that I also did are I also put some lights on the panels. So here are the 2 panels. I'll bring those up as well. So these are basically things that come out of the ship and connect up. They're all kind of floaty magnetic, and the ship uses these to generate power when it needs from a solar source or some other type of source. Okay, so this basically is the ship completed, and let's go ahead and do some work on it. A couple other things I should mention is that some of the lights, I just basically created a cube, and I'll show you the cube like this. Right there, just a small cube, and then I just kind of positioned it this way, and I'll do it again right here. And then I went to create and create an insert mesh brush and a new one. So basically I just created an insert mesh brush that places this cube on an object. So I can, this is how I added the lights. My brush is really big, but basically I just added the lights this way, so I can add them in specific areas if I want to. So now here, if I do want to add another light, I have this brush now, and I can add the lights to it. Okay, and so I'm gonna, don't need to look at this anymore. Oops. And also let's move off of that brush, and let's look at the whole spaceship. Okay, so now that we have the spaceship, let's go ahead and do a little bit of painting on it. So to do the painting, I basically what I did was, let's go to the front part, let's paint that one first. To do the painting for the front part, I just basically dynameshed the whole thing. So this is all one piece now. And the other thing that I also did was I subdivided it a couple of times. So if you look here, it's divided. Is it divided? I guess it's not divided. I'll divide it now. Okay, so there it is, right? This is the actual ship, and what we want to do is we want to subdivide it so we just get a little bit more geometry. I mean, right now, there's quite a few polygons. I think we should be fine, but I want to get even more granular than that, so I might add some more to it. So right now we're sitting at about, actually this is looking pretty, let me see here. I just want to see the information about this subtool. Right now it's just giving me maybe the whole the whole folder, but I think I can divide it once. So here I'm just going to go to divide. I have smooth off, and so just divide it once. And oh, okay, well, I guess maybe we won't divide it then. All right, so there, I guess I should have enough geometry. I think maybe I copied this with the subdivision levels, so I think we should be okay. All right, so let's go ahead and start painting. I'm going to turn polyframe off. If you guys have any questions, you can ask along the way. I'll stop every once in a while and explain what's going on. Okay, so a couple of things here. I want to load in some alphas. So here I'll go to my alpha folder right here, and I'm going to scroll over to where my alphas are. Nope. Where are they? Kermaco alphas. And I made a few alphas in Photoshop. These are ones that I've had before, but I made a checker one, so let's load that in. And I made this one as well. We can try and see what this one looks like. And then I made a couple of diagonal ones like this. So last time I showed you how to do this in a different way. This time I'm going to use the alphas to do it. So I'll load this one too. Let's load. It would be nice to have some other things too, but let's see. I think this should be okay for now. Maybe this one as well. All right, so I have some alphas loaded, right? And so all I'm doing is just double clicking on these, and I think this one loaded in as a texture right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here and say make alpha. So now that's an alpha as well. We don't want any textures. So now I've got all these alphas loaded in. I can just choose them as I want to. And then the other thing is I also want to choose a color palette, right? So for the color palette, what I'm going to do here is just go to texture and import some textures in. So these are just images from my reference sheet, and if you guys want to see my reference sheet, you can see it in previous streams. And I don't want to load it now because I want to kind of keep my memory down as much as I can, because I'm going to have ZBrush and Keyshot and a bunch of things up at the same time. Yeah, if you just want to see my reference sheet, you can always go and look at it later on in the previous stream. So here I'm just going to choose a bunch of images, and these are just images from my reference sheet that I wanted for color references, right? So now all those, I just loaded a bunch of them, and they're going to all be in my texture palette. So there they are. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start loading these into Spotlight. Okay, so all I do is just select the image and click on Add to Spotlight, select the image, and I'm going to do a bunch of these, so I might as well maybe dock the texture palette over here and just do it that way and not lose the menu. Okay, so I've got this thing. Let's do this one. Add, and these are just images that I have. For several reasons, I thought the colors in them were cool, so I'm just going to go ahead and load them in. So all I'm doing here is just clicking on the image and clicking on the Add to Spotlight, and soon I'll organize them. These are all images I found on the web, so they're readily available. And notice here that I've got all sorts of different things that I'm using for images for reference, right? So everything from rug structures to, I think I like the blue and the gray here. I thought those would be a good combo. I've got this alligator that had neat textures, and I think I've got this wave that looks good too. Okay, so now I've got all of these textures loaded in, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to use in Spotlight. Move this. What I'm going to do is choose, let's start out with this one right here, and I'm going to organize them this way. And let's shrink them down and put them over here to the left. Okay, so basically what I'm doing here is very simply just creating a color palette. So, you know, when you have when you're painting or something like that, you have a color palette. So I'm doing the same thing here. And so now, if I want to paint with a color, right, I just click on the color swatch here and drag over to the canvas. Now notice that nothing happens. So you see the color isn't changing over here. That's because it's basically sampling colors off the model, But if I hold Alt down, then it will sample whatever is underneath here. So by holding Alt down, I can choose the different colors. So maybe I like this color. I'm going to pick this color right here, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the object with that color, right? So now that is going to be the base color. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go do that with the back part as well, right? So that's that color as well. Okay, so let's go back to the front and start thinking of, okay, then what do I want to do? Well, the next thing I want to do is I want to maybe use this color. So again, holding Alt down, picking this color. And what I'll do here is go to masking, and then with the masking, I'll go ahead and choose one of my alphas. So let's choose this one right here. And so now I'm just basically choosing a mask this way, and I can move this anywhere I want. So let's say we want to do something like really big stripes. Maybe put them this way right here, like so. Okay, so now I've just basically masked this part. And then I'll invert the mask, and then I'll choose, I've already chosen that color or no? Let's see. I can select it again. There it is. And then fill object. So now it's just going to fill these parts. And if I clear the mask, now I've got this color pattern on the spaceship. Okay. And then now I want to paint the jets in the back. So what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and get rid of this mask alpha for now. And just mask all these parts like so. And then I'm going to pick a darker color this time. So let me pick this one right here. So let's bring spotlight back. Let's look at where was that wave? That wave had some really nice dark tones in it. Is it this one? Let's see if it's this one. No, but this has some interesting. We could use some stuff from here. I could also use some stuff from this jet, but did I not load that wave in? Let's see. Oh, here it is. Okay, so let me make sure this one is loaded in as well. So texture, that wave, and load it into Spotlight. Here we go. Right, resize it, move it to the side, and I'm going to pick some colors from here that I think would be cool for the jet. Let's hide that. Let's pick that color. So, having pictures as a color palette is kind of nice. And then just fill object, and that's going to fill over here. It's a little bit too light. I need this to be a little bit darker. Let's close this down. Actually, I don't need this anymore. Let's bring brush back, and let's do this over again. Just want to really, yeah, there we go, that one. Okay, so now I've got these kind of dark bluish colors for the jets. And I want to keep this color because I also want to paint some more of this model with those colors. And I'm going to hide, for now I'm going to hide Spotlight, and I'm just going to do some physical painting. So for that, I'm just going to choose the paintbrush and get going on the painting. I think I saw some questions. Okay. To read topology that shape and export the substance painter. Okay, so Diego is asking if I wanted to load this into Leah, oi to you back, and cool fool pal, hey, hi to you as well. And so Diego, if I wanted to retopo this, I could retopo it in ZBrush. Now that there is some the extrude tool with in the ZModeler, this thing right here. So if I'm on an edge and I hit spacebar, let's see if I can get it on edge. This thing is really, here we go. No, that point, come on, get an edge. Here we go. Edge actions with extrude, you can do it that way. Or you can use ZRemesher, right, to ZRemesh it. But the problem is you probably don't want to do everything on here, right, to load in substance paint. I mean, certain things can just be one color. So if you wanted to retopo like this whole thing, this whole spaceship, then you can do it that way. And also, note that I have a version of this, and I should show that as well. I have a version of this spaceship over here, which was the initial version. And let me just go to that, turn polyframe on. And you can see here, a lot of this is kind of janky geometry, but this is basically how we built the thing. So what I would probably do is I would probably retopo these pieces separately. So some of them probably are really easy to do. Some of them I can just add edge loops, and some of them, like these ones that have these kind of weird cut-ins and whatnot, those I could probably retopo using the edge capability. Or another thing I could do is I could zero mesh it. I probably would zero mesh it first, and if that result is good, then I'm good. And then one more thing I would need to do after I get the better topology is I would have to UV it as well. So I would probably use UV Master for that. And it all depends. I mean, if this was going to go into a game and I had a very specific poly count that I had to cater to, then I would probably spend a lot more time in that area. But here it's just for concept art, so it doesn't really matter if I have the retopology, because this is just going to go right into Keyshot, and I'm going to use poly paint. I'm also going to use a trick that you guys will like, so stay tuned for that. And hopefully that answered your question, Diego. And hey, Jeremy, how's it going? Good of you to join us. Okay, so let's just go back to the paintbrush here. So now what I want to do is I want to paint this over here. So let me just choose kind of an alpha. Let's see, how about, I want this, here we go, this one. Okay, and just kind of start painting it. And I also don't want to have, let's see here, I don't want to have lazy mouse on for now. So here I'm just basically painting this. Let's see, my RGB intensity is at 100, that's good. So now I'm just basically painting these jets and kind of painting this back area. As a matter of fact, I think I'm gonna do the opposite and paint less. So I'm just gonna mask this whole part off, like so, do a fill object, and then I will maybe unpaint some areas that I don't want to have that paint color. I think this is working really well. So I want to paint these parts to have that same color. And I'm having a little bit of bleed here, but I don't really care. I mean, it's not that bad. Right? And it all depends on, like, you know, how close you're going to get to this to see the details. And probably if these are jets, they probably have this kind of, you know, they probably don't have a straight kind of edge. They probably, it's a little bit weathered like this. So this is going to work out just fine. All right, and then I'm just going to pick this color and then color these areas. So let me mask this so I don't touch it. Okay, and I do have symmetry on, and I just want to paint maybe some of this back the color that it was before. Right, and as you can see, I've got enough polygons here to accommodate for the poly paint, so I'm doing okay. And this will just shoot right into Keyshot. Paint this part as well. I would do a fill object here, but I don't want to get rid of those cool stripes that I painted earlier. All right, I think that'll do. Oh, maybe this part's here too. Right, so the painting capability is pretty nice in ZBrush. There we go. Now another cool trick is you can kind of pick the other color, and like here, for example, I kind of went over a bit. So if you hold Alt down, you can, you know, go back and forth until you get it right. I'll probably need a smaller size brush here. Not that small. Here we go. All right. Right, so you can see I'm kind of going back and forth until I get that fine edge. And there's probably, with masking and stuff, you can probably do this a lot easier. But I think this is working for me. And here, what I want to do is I just want to create kind of the effect that the jets have bled a little bit onto the neighboring areas. So there's a little bit of that bleed action going on. I'm just going to blend this in a little bit this way. Here we go. So all that painting and brush control stuff comes in handy. All right, I think that's looking okay in the back. So we've got the jets painted. Maybe kick this in a bit more like so. Sometimes I'm going back and forth just to kind of get enough of that effect effect that this is actually kind of bleeding in. All right, so that's good. And then let's say what I want to do here is I want to create that checker pattern over here. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and go to my mask, go to alpha, pick that checkered alpha over here, and oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Now here, notice that as I'm moving it, it's not square, the aspect ratio, so it's kind of not creating exactly a square version of that, and I want it to be square. So to do that, what you can do is you can go here and go to mask square, or I think there's another button you can press under stroke that will make it square, but I'll just choose this, you know, easy solution right here. So there's that, but we want the alpha, right? So now I can just put that checker alpha right here. Let's see, this is where I want it to be. Maybe a little bit smaller. Right here. All right, so now again, just draw that out, move it, position it, and let's say this is where I want it to be. All right, so there it is, and I'm going to invert that, and let's say I want this to be maybe, let's bring up our spotlight again. I want this reddish color over here. So again, I'm just going to pick a reddish color from in here. Oops. You know, you can see I'm cycling through the different reds, and maybe I want something like a darker red, maybe not that dark. So how about there? That's good. Okay, so let's hide this. Let's do fill object. So now that's just going to fill that part with that red color, right? So now I've got that over there, and then I'm just going to do some manual painting. So let's just find some cool colors here. I like this green over here. So let's go over here, pick that, right? And then maybe, oh, what's interesting is that this kind of got painted, and happy accident. I didn't really intend it to do that, but that's fine. It looks good actually. And then here, let's just turn it this way and find some things that we can paint this green color. I think maybe this over here, like so. So what we'll do here is we'll do a couple of color schemes. We won't just do one. So here I'm just kind of painting this. I could probably mask it and get better, finer lines, but I think this will be good enough. And then maybe pick a different color here. I keep hitting Alt first. Maybe this kind of greenish color over here. It's darker green. Like so. Yep. Nope. Didn't get it. There we go. Right, and then paint. Now there's a couple of ways. I mean, I could leave the spotlight on and then do it. I keep hiding it. But you can have the spotlight be on as well, but then you have to click this other button, and I don't really want to do that right now. So I'm just going to keep hiding and showing spotlight. Okay, so here's this, and this kind of made that part stand out, and maybe color this part, that color too, like so. All right, that looks good. So that kind of creates a more kind of a standout thing for that. And then these antennas in the front, I want to paint them a darker color as well. So I've got this checker thing back on here. So let's just go back to the normal mask. And let's go ahead and pick just a regular alpha off. And I want to mask, I guess I can just mask this other, oops. This part right here. Like so. And then also this part right here, I'm just going to unmask. Right now I want to just color these a specific color, so let's find a good color for those. Darker color would be better. Maybe I'll pick another thing from here. let's pick something from this wave again. So again, click, drag. Maybe this color is good, and then fill object. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. All right, so I'm liking this, and now we can just add a few details just by going in and choosing some of these alphas that I brought in. So maybe this one right here we can put somewhere. Over here. And here again, I could go to the square aspect ratio, but maybe I can play around with it and just maybe kind of reduce the size of this to that and put it over here like so. This looks like a good place for it right there. Invert that mask, and then let's fill it. We can just fill it with that color. That's fine. Let's see what that looks like. Looks okay, but I don't like that being there because it's kind of not working with that one edge. So let me do this again. All right, invert the mask, fill object, and there it is, and I like that there as well. So it's starting to come together more or less. One thing I want to do here is I want to actually, I'll do this again. I want to paint, oops. By the way, this would be kind of a cool thing to do too. I just did this, and I'll do it just so we can see what it looked like. So I'll do fill object and do that, and now basically I've got this kind of two-tone thing happening, but I'm not going to actually accept that. Let's undo this again, clear that mask. Let me go back to alpha off, and what I wanted to do is I want this to go a little bit, bleed a little bit into the front of the ship. Maybe not that much. There we go. Right, so I want that color to kind of bleed in a little bit in the front of the ship, so the entire front of the ship has that ability. All right, so that's one color combination. That's pretty cool. What we'll do here is we'll make another one. So I'm just going to go ahead and duplicate this whole thing. And now with the duplicate of it, let's hide the first one. And with the duplicate of it, I'm going to do a completely different color scheme. So the same exact ship, but a different color scheme. So here, I'm going to bring my stuff back. Let's just reset it all to this. And I'm going to use maybe these colors right here, right? So I'm going to make this one bigger. And we're going to use some colors from here, maybe that one, and also I like this one as well. So I'm going to make that bigger like so. And we're going to use colors from here. So here I'm just going to choose the base color to color the spaceship. Right, so here, let's say I want to start out with something like maybe a lighter green, like this from the water, or maybe, let's see what this, maybe this one right here, or this one. Let's do that one. Okay, so fill object, now that's going to fill the entire ship with that color. Whoa, that didn't look good. Let's try and see if this one looks any better. A little bit better. Let's try and see this. And these are basically panels from movies and whatnot, so I like that. I think that'll work. And then let's try and see what the highlights will look like. So for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this checker pattern right here. And see what this will look like. So this is kind of what I want the spaceship color to be. So I'm going to invert the mask, and let's go with that red. Oops. Right there. Okay, and fill object. And so this is going to be the other type of look we are going to have. So again, it's just a kind of a similar kind of idea, but a little bit different. And then we're going to do something completely different with the back here. Oops, I keep forgetting I've got this alpha on, so turn that alpha off. We're going to use the same exact trick we did earlier, where we're just going to mask this part off. And we're just going to paint this back part kind of a darker color. And for this, I can just pick one. So I'm just going to pick kind of a really dark gray over here, and then fill object. So there it is. And maybe that's a little bit too dark. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so that's good. And then let's clear the mask. And actually, I kind of like that darker look that it has here. I like this kind of darker color. Wonder if I can grab that. Let's see if I can. Let's find a pure area of it. I kind of like this look a lot, this kind of dark green with the red. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to choose that color. I'm going to mask this part and fill the object with that color. Oops, well, I guess I should clear the mask first. Okay, so that looks good. Oh. Come on. All right. I should mask this part first. Here we go. And then fill object, clear the mask. There it is. And that kind of created this weird ring here, which is fine. But let's get rid of it. All right. Let's see. All right, Diego. All right, let's see here. Miguel, I don't know what you're saying, but cool. Nice to have you on board. All right, so now we've basically got this going on, and what we want to do here is, let's see, I want to kind of unmask or fill. Do I have symmetry on? Let's make sure I do. Yep. And so what I want to do here is just mask the jet engines over here, like so. That, and let's just fill the object with the green color, and that should kind of free this up. Yep, it freed that outside part up, which is good, and now let's free up the inside part as well. It created some interesting cut-ins over there, but yeah, let's do this like that. And fill object. Oh. Thought I masked it, but I guess I didn't. All right, let's do it one more time. Mask 1, mask 2, fill object. Okay, so that did that, and then I can just go in and just use the paintbrush to color in these areas. Here, oh. And again, with a little bit of that bleed, which actually kind of works out nice. And fix these areas like so. And again, I'm going to do that trick where I just choose this color. Oops. All right, so now that I've got this going on, what I'll also do is go in here, and let's do that thing with the red again. So let's pick the color like so, and let's go ahead and go into mask over here and pick, I think we did this checker. It kind of worked out nice. So let's do the same thing over again. Oops. A bit bigger. Oh, that was weird. let's try this one more time. Okay, there it is. Let's make sure this is straight. Now when you're doing this, by the way, you want to make sure you don't have perspective on, because it really messes up your selection. Here we go. And then invert that mask and fill object. And this is kind of a little bit of a different variation from what we had before. I kind of like it. It's cool. It's cool. And then I can just go in and paint different parts as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to turn this off. This red doesn't really work well with the darker green. A darker red would work better. So let me choose this red instead. And invert that mask. Fill object. Oops. I did the opposite of what I wanted to do. Do this. No, that's not mask, but then I think, here we go. Invert the mask, fill object. I think this will do it. And clear the mask, and yeah, this is what we want. Okay, so now I've got a different variation of the same ship, and what we'll do here is let me check something here real quick. All right. And what we'll do here is we'll make sure that we've got the different parts, and then again I want to make this front part darker, so I'm going to do this exact same trick. Mask all this, and let's see if I can find a color from here. And suppose I want it to be somewhere, maybe one of these colors. Let me just make this one bigger, and we can sample some colors from it. I'm kind of holding it next to this to see if the colors work. Maybe not. Let's see if I can find something good in this image. So here, this is kind of a completely not, it's kind of a painting that somebody did. A good one, but maybe we can find some colors in here. All right, so let's pick the color. Let's try and do this one right here. Let's see if this works. And fill object. That's okay, but maybe something lighter. So here I'm undoing it, and let's go ahead and pick, maybe, let's try and see if this color would work better. It kind of does. Kind of does and kind of doesn't. It's too light. All right, so let's pick something in between, or maybe a completely different color. Maybe this isn't working. All right, let's see if there's something cool here. Let's see that one. Fill object. Yep, that one works. All right, so now we've got a completely different version of this spaceship. So that's our second variant. And then we can do, let's do one more. And again, I'm just kind of going to test these out to see what they look like in KeyShot. And I'm not going to do all of them, of course, but I'm going to do one. And then here, let's add some further detail to this. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and go into Lightbox and go into my spotlights over here that I have with, let's see. Let's go over into here and make all these smaller. There's plenty of cool stuff here we can use. So let's choose maybe this one. And let's choose a color, maybe like a yellow. Right, so there's that. It kind of looks cool. It's a little bit broken up when you turn it around, but I think that adds to it. So that's kind of cool. And then let's pick another one. Maybe let's pick a different spotlight. Let's look at these ones. Right, so these can be used to make 3D stuff, but they can also be used to paint stuff. So I'm going to use this one right here and make it bigger. Put it over here like so. And paint. That's kind of weird. It painted it off of where it was. Let's undo that. I don't know if my, here we go. All right, so that just basically created that kind of painted area over on top there. Oh man, I undid the first thing I did. All right, sorry. I think I keep doing Shift Control Z. Here we go. This is where we want to be. All right. So now let's do this again. Lightbox. Let's see if there's anything interesting here. Sometimes, if a mistake happens, it's a chance for a revisit. There's some cool stuff here. Let's do this one. Oops. Let's move that over there. And let's choose maybe a yellowish color. So, yeah, I don't know why it's not doing it exactly underneath. That's weird. Let's see, I've got perspective is off, so I don't know what's going on. I'll try this one more time. Well, it's painting it off to the side. I don't know why, but actually that's not too bad of a place for it, so we'll just leave it there. And also the other thing is it's painting it white where I don't want it to be white. I want it to be yellow, so I don't know if I think there is a way to do that. I figured it out last time, but anyway. And here I'm just going to smooth. Let me go back here. One more. I think we want to go to 119. All right. All right, so I'll find out why this is happening. It shouldn't be happening. It should just paint underneath it. All right, so there's that. And yeah, I have no idea why the projection is off. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move the spaceship to get it. And the funny thing is the first one was exactly where I wanted it. Since then, something weird's going on. Anyway, this actually is looking okay. All right, so that's gone, and that's going to be there. All right, so this is going to be our second variant, and we can do a third one, or I could move on. Actually, I'm going to move on. 2 is enough for now. Right, so this is the front part, so let's make the back parts for each one of these. So I've got one of these guys here, and I'm going to duplicate this as well. All right, and I'm going to take a short 1 second break. I'll be right back. right, sorry about that. Right, so in the meantime, ZBrush is going to do a quick save, which is fine. And if anybody has questions, this would be a good time to ask. No questions? All right. So as soon as this thing is done, we'll continue with the painting. All right. I think we're getting in the high poly counts here, so just wait for it to finish. So Ghost of Christmas Future is asking if I've had fun with the cloth brushes, and the answer is yes, I have. And I'm actually doing a lot of cool stuff with them that I'm going to be sharing soon. And one of which is a tutorial on how to make the classic folds that you know, if you learn painting basically, or drawing, and if you want to learn on how to draw clothing, there's like 7 folds that you need to use, and these have been around for a very long time, and so I'll be showing you how to do those in ZBrush, right? So that's going to be the tutorial. I'm going to put it together, put it on Gumroad for a nominal price. So I'm working on that, and that should be available soon. But outside of that, I've actually had a lot of really cool functions with the cloth brushes that are outside of cloth. So not for use them for cloth, but use them for other things. So stay tuned. All right, so here I've just brought up the rest of the ship for now. And I'm going to solo this. Let me just bring the rest of the ship up. I want to sample this color. And I want to paint this area that color. So here I'm just basically going to roughly paint. And again, this is going to be dark, so it doesn't really matter. I'm just going to roughly paint it. We're probably not going to see this. I'm not going to do a render with it separated out. Not for the stream. I'll probably be doing tons of renders of this after we're done. So basically, when I finish a project, right, I have the assets. So it's not like a drawing where you're done with it and that's it. You just put it on a drawer or put it on a wall or something. What's nice about ZBrush is that, or CG in general, is that you still have those objects and you can load them in and do different renders. And I guess a good example of that would be here, like this thing right here. I made it in in the first stream, right? We made this robot, and then when cloth came out, I gave it kind of this cloth thing to it, and then I did a different render, right? So this could go on. I could be generating artwork from this for a very, very long time, right? So same thing here. I don't know if I did this during the stream, but the other day I just loaded it in, did some renders, and made some changes and whatnot. So you always can, you can always use you can do different renders of your object. And when you have a ZBrush project, it's not like once you finish your painting on your canvas or whatever that you're done with it. So the work that I do here will live on for as long as I want it to, and I can always revisit it and I can always change it, add things to it. If there's new capabilities or whatever, I can always come in and add those capabilities to it. So that's kind of one of the benefits of doing things in ZBrush or doing things digitally and in 3D is that you can always revisit, you can always edit, you can always change. So that's kind of one of the big, huge benefits of doing what we do. So here I'm just masking this one area here because I want to color the jets on the back part of the spaceship. Like so, right? So that's good enough masking. And here I'm just gonna, erase the mask. like so. And then pick this color right here and fill object, and now I've got those jets painted. And it turned out to be the color of this mast, which actually works out better. So I like that a lot. And here, maybe I'll just do some kind of spot painting. So maybe this top part here is white. So I'm just going to mask it, invert the mask, pick like a lighter color, fill object, right? Select like that. Since it's got mirroring on, it colored this white. And I didn't really intend to do it, but it actually doesn't look too bad. I might just leave it like that. And maybe, let's see, I think this is enough for that. I don't really, maybe we can put some stuff on top, like so. So here I'm just going to go ahead and choose an alpha. I'm going to do this spotlight box thing in a different way, right? So what I did earlier, I'm going to do a different version of that. So maybe not these ones, but the first one was pretty good. Here we go. Let's choose, which one did we choose? I think we chose this one. Let's choose that again. Bring it over here. That's good. And what I'm going to do with that is, instead of using it this way, right, I'm going to make an alpha out of it. So let's see, is there one that's like makes an alpha with this? I think there was, and I figured it out last time and I totally forgot now. Well, I can't figure it out, so I'm going to do a different trick. What I'm going to do is, instead of having it be an alpha, I'm going to have it be geometry. Is there a way? Let's see. I think it might be under texture. Let's see if it does it this way, or under alpha. Alpha, from mesh, from brush. I wonder if from brush will work. No. Let's see. As you can see, sometimes I always am figuring things out too. From noisemaker, no. No. Let's see. Make 3D, transfer. Texture, make style. Let's see. No. Nope. 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 Yeah, I think there is a way to do it, and for the life of me, I can't remember, but I'll find out. And look into it. But for now, I'm going to use another trick, which is basically make this into a 3D object. And then here it is, right? So now if I bring it back to that spaceship, instead of it being a kind of painted on, now it's basically placed on there. So now I can't really put it exactly there, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do another trick, which is basically I'm going to solo this out and do this, right, like that. And let's go to that light brush that I made, and I'm just going to go ahead and create an insert mesh and append it. Oh. Let's make sure this one is selected, and I'm on cue. This one's selected. Yep. Create insert mesh, and I'm going to append it to that brush. Okay, so now I've got this as an insert mesh brush. So what that means is I can hide this now, go back to that previous part, right, and just draw it on as a object, and I know it'll be right on the wing. I can just press it in, and so now it's there, but it's sticking out a little bit. And I want to fill it with a yellowish color, like maybe an orange. Fill object. Oops, not the whole thing. I guess I should, before I do this, split the mask parts. So now they're going to be their own thing. Fill object, and then when I bring this back in, so now I've got these kind of coming out of it as objects and not painted on, right? So now it's geometry. So it'll create kind of a cooler effect. All right, and if I want these to be on the bottom as well, I can do the same trick, but I think they're just good on top. And let me see here if I can want to do anything this way. And detailing, I mean, it just depends on how much time you have. You can always add and subtract stuff, put text and whatnot. But I think for now, I think this much is good. All right, so now what I want to do is, I mean, I could load this into KeyShot exactly the way it is. Another trick I can also use is if I want to apply different materials. So let's say I want to apply a different material to the jets here. I can do another trick, and I'll show you this. It's pretty neat. So I'm just going to go back to the front. Oh, I guess maybe we should do the other one too before I do that. So bookmark that thing that I said. So here's one, here's the second one right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to work with this one and make a back part for it. Now I don't really care about the front or the panels, because the panels are going to be their own thing. So now I've got this colored this way, and what I want to do here is color this back part the same green color. So I'm just going to pick that green color here and fill object. So now it's got it. Man, that looks really good, just like that. And then now I'm just going to go in here and paint this front part. So the good news is that now that I have, you know, the spaceship, I can create 100 different versions of it, right? So I can make as many versions of it as I want. And right now I'm just doing 2, but that doesn't mean I can't continue to make more variations of it. Oops. I guess I should go back to the paintbrush. Paint. And what we want to do is we want to paint it this darker color. All right, Leah, thank you. Okay, so just going in and filling this in like so. Right. Right, so this part is all going to be dark because probably the thing jettisons off of it. I mean, it doesn't launch off of it, but it probably, you know, deposits some sort of exhaust on here. So, and then just kind of bring it back. And again, it's always good to use colors from existing photos because you get some really interesting effects. So all these colors are coming from those reference photos that I had. Okay, so there's that. And then let's kind of do this white thing up here, like so. And this time, instead of doing it in white, I'm going to do it in orange, like so, maybe lighter. Oh, like that, that's good. And let's do these back jets. Right, this time I'm just going to take, you know, kind of be a little bit rougher with it. And again, you know, you can always come in and clean up if things don't look good in ZBrush, I mean in KeyShot. You can always load it back in and make the changes. But yeah, the poly painting is really nice. I'm hoping one day, you know, I won't have to worry about UVs, and this is how I will be painting everything. Right, that's good enough. So invert that. Right, so now I'm going to do the same trick where I'm just actually going to sample the masked version of this and fill that back part with that. There's that. And get this back. And that's looking okay. I think I like that. And let's see what it looks like with the whole ship. All right, so that's looking good. All right, and again, I'm not coloring the text because I can do that in KeyShot. It's fine. And I can color these parts down here, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Oh, got some major not so good stuff happening here. Let me fix that. All right, so so something like this. All right, so there's that part, and that's done as well. And I think for the most part, we have basically our paint job and everything pretty much done. So let's bring these up, and we can get back to that trick I was talking about. And I'm going to do that with one of the ships, right? I'm not going to do it with both. But yeah, here's everything basically shown. And I'm going to put these parts away in this folder that I don't need. Okay, so now I've got everything is there. Everything is good. So I'm going to do that trick with this version of the spaceship. And the way that that works is right now, if I look at polyframe, and I'll look at polyframe, let's do the front because I think it'll make more sense. So I'll go to that front part and solo it. Okay, so right now, if I look at this and I look at polyframe, it's all one polyframe color, right? And if I hide the poly paint, right, and get up close, let's just choose a different color. So here you can see, maybe see something lighter. Come on, ZBrush, give me a lighter color. Here we go. So you can see all this thing is just one poly group, right? It's just one poly group. And if I bring the poly paint on, now there's the paint on it, but it's still one poly group. So what I can do here, there's two things I want to talk about. So the first one is this poly group thing that I'm going to show you. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here and go to polygroups and say from poly paint. Okay, I'm going to click on this, and what this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and polygroup everything on the spaceship based on the paint, right? So when I'm done with this, and I'm just hoping this is not one of those things. Oh, here we go. Is it done? Let me do this one more time. So there's that from polypaint, and group from polypaint tolerance, large number, more groups. So let's just go to 0.2 here, and let me try this one more time from polypaint. Okay, and what that will do is it will create polygroups based on the paint information, and hopefully this will work. Yep, it did. So you can see now that I've got, let me turn polypaint off to make sure. No, it's not doing it. What's going on? So basically what I wanted it to do is basically have a different polygroup for each of the polypaint objects, but somehow something is not working. Let's see what's going on. All right, let's do this one more time. Polygroup from polypaint. Okay, so establish polypaint material assignments. Note to add instead of replace. Press Alt and click this button. All right, let's try that. Let's see if that works. All right, yep, it worked. So you can see now that every single one of these areas that are painted have a different polygroup. And the reason why I'm doing this is because when I go into Keyshot, I can assign different materials, and you'll see. So I can assign like a gold material to these checker parts. And we'll do that in just a little bit. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the back part of this. So here's this part right here. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So the trick was to make sure the polypaint is on, and also to press Alt when I did that. So again, just go to polypaint, or polygroup, sorry, not polypaint. And from polypaint, hold the Alt key down, click. And there it is. So yeah, you can see that the antenna here has a different polygroup, and so does this part. And the colors seem a little bit similar, but they're different polygroups. So I guess a good way to see this is to turn off the grid. So there you go. You can see the different polygroups here, right? So this is a different polygroup. This is a different polygroup. And this top part is a different polygroup, right? So that's going to be different materials in Keyshot, and we'll see how that works out. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about, which is kind of also really cool, is that if I bring this spaceship over here, front part again, all right, and let's unsolo this. Oop, not that one, this one. I think I'm selecting the wrong. Okay, let's just do this one. It's fine. All right, and I'm going to hide again the not the back, but the reflectors for now. All right, so now that I have the reflectors hidden, right, I want to look and see, well, this looks good, but what if I want it to be a little bit different, right? What if I want to try different variations of this color scheme? So what I could do here is I can go under Polypaint. And I think they introduced this in the not the 2020 version, but 2019 they did this, where you can go in here and you can say, where is it? Not polygroup, but Polypaint. And you can say adjust colors. So what that will do is you can pick a color. So here I can just pick this color right here, right? So I have that color. Right, and I can go in here and I can cycle through different variations, different hues, right? So everything that is that color, I'm going to go ahead and frame this so I can see the whole thing, right? So everything that is that color, I can cycle through different hues. To see if something else looks better, right? So I'm going through different hues here to see if this color looks, you know, like this is kind of a neat look. So I can do some kind of color testing as well. After I've painted it, I can choose to see, okay, so how much maybe I want things to be more saturated or less saturated. Right, so here I'm kind of looking at different options to see if there is a better version of it. And I can also choose the intensity, maybe have it be darker like this, right? And I can just play around with these. So I'm just playing around with that. So now I'm going to go ahead and do these checker parts right here. So I'm going to pick that color, and I'm going to go ahead and look at different hues of that color. So what if that color was, you know, something like this? Let's saturate it more. Let's increase the intensity of it. Right, so now I'm basically looking at a completely different color scheme. So this is kind of cool too, because once you're done here, you can see what this looks like, and you can add a tint to it. So here I'm adding let's see what a reddish tint will do. So now I've got a whole other different reddish variation of this exact same spaceship, right? So you know, this is something else that I do is when I get this to be final and I'm playing around with the colors, maybe I can work with an art director or something like that and let them know, well, you know, what if we chose this color scheme? You know, what if, you know, this was going to be in some sort of a, you know, in the shadow of a red planet or something like that, and it had to have this color scheme. So you can basically play around with this to choose a different color scheme if the one that you like isn't working for you, right? So here, but I think, you know, I think for the most part, I like this one, and I also like the other one that we did. So I think RC Garini is asking, he does a lot of hard surface sculpting, cool. Any advice for 90-degree creases, step downs, walls, etc.? All right, so yeah, you know, what I would say is use this new thing that they just introduced for walls and whatnot. I used to do all my kind of planar modeling. I'm going to turn perspective on here. I used to do all my planar modeling in Maya or some other program, but now I'm doing it all in here. So if I want to create kind of a hallway or a wall or something like that, I can do all that in ZBrush. So I guess I can just jump in here to this part right here and unify it. and soloid. So let's say I'm going to build some sort of a hallway, right? So I'm just starting out with just a simple cube. Let me turn perspective off here, like so. And I'm going to go to ZModeler, and I'll delete these edges. I'll delete this, this, and this. Turn double on so we can see inside of it. Okay, so there it is, right? And let me choose, let me just fill this object with this color. All right, so let's say I'm going to build a hallway. So now here, when I go to an edge and hit spacebar, I now have the extrude function. And with extrude, there's all these different options. And I would recommend you watch Paul Gabry's stream. He goes through and explains what each one of these are. And there's one that's actually exactly perpendicular angle, which is the 90-degree angle you were talking about. So now when I draw this, notice, and let me turn on symmetry here. Actually, let me make sure. Actually, I'm going to do one other thing here. I'm going to turn on thickness, which makes this work a little bit better. So I'm going to turn on dynamic, turn smooth down to 0, and give it a little bit of thickness, like so. All right. So now, when I draw this out, right, and make sure symmetry is on. Maybe it is not X symmetry, but is it Z? It's probably Z. Nope. Bring the floor on to figure this out. Oh, wow, look at this. All right, so let me rotate this. Now we are golden. Nope. Wait a minute. Oh, that's what's going on. Y is on. All right, let's turn X on for the floor. And turn it on. All right, and rotate this like so. And let's see here. All right, so if I have, and we want X symmetry, let's see if this does it. Nope. It doesn't matter. Here we go. Okay, so now I've got this. Now notice that this is exactly at 90 degrees, right? So when you have an edge here and you're drawing out, it's going to draw it out at 90 degrees because I chose perpendicular. Or I can choose a different one here. Off this floor. Let me just do this right. This floor should be on Y, not on Z. Okay, let's just see it. There it is. And I think this thing should be this way. And let's do this to it. All right, so now we're good. And then let's just make sure the symmetry is on X. All right. Good. All right, so now notice that when I draw out, extrude, do I have like, let's see what this looks like if I add some smooth subdivision levels to it. All right, that's about right. All right, so now when I go to an edge over here, and I'm going to say do nothing for face, but if I'm on an edge, and I'm on extrude, and so I have extrude edge, I can just keep extruding these edges and they will be at 90 degrees. So also notice here that I've got it as at a variable taper, right? So here, if I, let's say, want to create a situation where this is kind of a ramp, right? So I can just kind of draw that. So right now it is on 90 degrees, but if I don't want it to be perpendicular, I'll just have a free angle, right? So now I have a free angle, and this is going to be a ramp, and then there's going to be, you know, these walls next to it. So what I'm going to do here is draw this out so that I can snap it over to here. Got to get it just right. And even if I don't get it just right, I can always, you know, move the points. And if I have point snap on, let's see, do I have snapped surface? Free move, attraction valence, force symmetrical, let's see, move, yeah, all right. Yeah, this should just snap to this point, come on. Right, here we go. Right, so now it snaps up to it, so I've got this ramp, and then I'm going to build some more walls, right? So I think there is I accidentally added an edge over here, and that's causing me issues. All right, so that's good. Now I'm going to go back to extrude, and extrude this back out. So there's that, right? And then I can go up, right? So there's that part of the hallway. Go up this way, snap that on, and then maybe it goes this way, and then maybe it closes up, right? So now I'm basically creating this hallway. And then if I want to extend this out, so here, let's do this like that. And now I want to extrude this whole thing out, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the extrude, but I'm going to do it with the entire edge loop, like so, right? So maybe it goes out like this. And I can have it go exactly the same size, but here I'm just going to do a little bit of variation, and then maybe it closes in a bit, right? And so if I'm making a game or something and somebody's going through here, right? If I turn perspective on, this will look better, right? So you can kind of see that you can do things like this very easily now. And this is just with that one feature of extruding the edge, and it's pretty powerful. And so hopefully that answers your question. Right? So yeah, and if you want this not to be so hard edge, if you want it to be softer, you can always go in here in the smooth subdivision levels and add a smooth subdivision level. So now it's not as hard edge as it can be. Or you can always do a Q grid where you basically have a different, let me bump this to 2 here, and you can kind of change the coverage to go everywhere in between hard edge and soft edge, right? So you can have all these different variations of these things. And you know, this chatter on the edge all goes away when you turn off thickness, right? So now you basically have this, and then you can just do a quick Q mesh of that to get a level of thickness. I think I can just do it for all polygons, like so, right? So now you basically have this type of shape, right? So pretty kind of fast, cool way of doing all these types of hard surface actions. And I use this for retopology, so it's pretty powerful for that. And I also use it to create kind of hard surface things that, you know, edge modeling or face modeling, as I call it in my classes. I use it for that as well. Okay, so Renzo, you're good with that. RC Garini, does that answer your question? Leah, have a great weekend as well. Bye. And yeah, so that's it. And I can delete this. I don't need it anymore. Actually, I'm just going to take it all the way back to what it was. Here we go. All right, so now that we've got all this, let's go ahead and do a little bit of work in another program here. I know this is a ZBrush stream, but I'm going to create kind of a background, the space background. Another thing also I should mention is that I found this website, which would be pretty useful for you guys as well. If you're doing space scenes and whatnot, it's this guy on YouTube, and I think he works for NASA, and it's Sean Doran, and he's got all these amazing videos of space, right? So Jupiter, for example, and the moon, Eye of Gita, and all sorts of different cool things. So here, for example, you can see stuff on Mars. And all these are pretty high resolution, right? So if you want to place your spaceship, let's say in some sort of environment, let's look at this one right here, right? So there's a video. Turn the sound off, right? So there's that, and if you like this, for example, and these are, I think, shot from the space station, you can always pause this and then just take a snapshot of this and then use this as your kind of backdrop. I mean, I'm sure, you know, I'm sure that if you were going to use it for a commercial project, you should ask him if it's possible. And right, I'm just gonna skip this ad. So like, there's this, which is pretty cool, of the night sky of the Earth. So you can grab this part right here, and you can composite that into your space image. Right, and there's quite a few in here. That was one idea I had of using these, and then the other thing that I did was also using this other program called Flame Painter, and in this one you can actually create a nebula pretty easily. So here I basically have these stars, and there's like a million YouTube videos that tell you how to use this, how to do this. Just give me a second here. I think I minimize the chat window. Let me bring that back up so we can see what's going on. Okay, here we go. All right, and so here in this one, right, the star kind of pattern is pretty easy to get, right? You can just get it in Photoshop, and there's like a lot of videos on it. So I've got that, and now I've just added a layer in the middle. And with this Flame Painter program, what you can do here is you can just choose, there's like 2 or 3 different brushes that create a cool nebula. So here, I'm just going to start out with, let's say this one, clouds, right? And here, I'm going to start painting some clouds. So first, I'm going to choose a color for my nebula, and I'm going to choose like a dark blue, right? And here, I can choose the size of my brush. And this is the opacity. And all right, and the dot sizes are going to be pretty big. So now I'm just basically painting, just very slowly painting kind of a nebula. And nebulas usually are gas. There's a lot of gases, so this is just basically like a gaseous thing. And then I can just make a lighter color, and again, just kind of very slowly go over and create this. Now the thing is, I've got stars in the front and the back, so notice here that there's stars in the front as well. It's the exact same image, I just copied it and put it on top, so that makes it look a little bit more realistic. And so I'm just basically going to make a kind of a nebula like this, and now I'm going to choose black and cut into it. Right, so now I'm basically just kind of creating these wispy, cloudy like things that are in space. And you don't want to, you just kind of want to not be dragging it. Like I made something really bad there, so I can always come back and fill that back in. Right, so now I'm basically making a space scene without using photos. I'm actually generating it, right? And we're going to have our spaceship kind of be in this environment and have this be the background of it. All right, so you can see here that it's creating a pretty nice version of that. And then also what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to that front stars and maybe erase some of those stars that are outside, because the concentration of stars are going to be inside of the nebula. So they do that. And then to add more stars inside the nebula, I'm going to use this snow brush and just go in and kind of slowly do this to add a little bit more stars, maybe make these dots a little bit bigger. Right, so I'm just basically populating my nebula with stars like so. Okay, and now what I want to do is add some brightness. So I'm going to go back to that brush here and just choose kind of like maybe an off-white and choose a smaller size, and then just tap on some of these over here. I can do it outside as well to create some kind of brighter stars, happy little stars like that. All right, so and I can always introduce other colors. So here maybe I can go to some reds. Oops. Again, you want to be really subtle, maybe deeper red. And maybe some yellows. Right, so and then just cut into them with black if it's too much. And again over here, choose a bigger brush size. Right, and now I basically have a nebula I can use in the background. This is kind of turning, it's a little bit too even. Nebula is a little bit more random than that, but I can always add and subtract. Let's go to this clouds too. Let's see what that, whoa, that's way too strong. Okay, let's drop the opacity of it way down. Let's see if that gives us something more interesting. There we go. I think I went way too down on the opacity. All right, so what are we doing here? Let's go to black. Right, so that, yeah, actually this is kind of nice because it adds kind of more of a directionality to it. So I'm just going to say there. Now this is looking pretty straight. So I can always load it into Photoshop and bend things around, or I can just go in here and add more. So just an additive and subtractive thing where you basically, ooh, it's way too much. It kind of looked cool though. Here, let's just use a dark blue. All right, so kind of creating a dark blue border over here. And then go back to black and start taking some of it away. All right, so I think I accidentally put some of the star, you know, it's always good to kind of keep your layers organized. I think I jumped layers here, but it's fine. I think overall it's working out. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'll just export it out and we'll use this. And I've got a few other ones that I made earlier and we'll just use these as kind of our background. So let me export this out. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, let me know. And this thing is a program called Flame Painter, and I think there's a free version of it, and then there's a pay-for version of it. I'm not sure. I bought it a long time ago. So save as, backgrounds, and nebula dot PSD. All right, and I don't think I've got Photoshop loaded just to keep my memory kind of low. But I'll kill this thing and then we'll just jump into Keyshot and do our render there. Oh, the name of the software is Flame Painter. Here, I'll find it for you guys. Okay, so it's this one right here. It's by a company called Escape Motions, I guess. Yeah, it's this one right here, Flame Painter 4. And they've got another one that I also used called Amberlight, and Amberlight creates this kind of pattern as well. So it creates this type of effect. And I use that to generate images that look more like a black hole. So yeah, Flame Painter and Amberlight, they're both really nice. And I think you can get demos. I guess they don't have a free version, but you can get a demo version just to try out if you want to. But yeah, these programs are really nifty for creating nebulas and stuff like that. All right, let's see what's going on with us over here. Let's bring all these back and we're going to shoot these into Keyshot in a minute and do the rest of the stream here on Keyshot. Right, so there's that. We're just going to bring all these up because everything that's visible is just going to shoot into Keyshot. And where is everybody? Solo, that's what's going on. All right, so here, let's just go to this object. All right, so we've got all of our objects here, and we're just going to shoot them into Keyshot. Okay, so Chrysalazar, hopefully that answered your question. And yeah, okay, so now we are ready to go into Keyshot. I'll just turn Keyshot on. Like here, and that's basically in the render menu, right here in the render menu, external renderer, and you just turn Keyshot on. And if you have the bridge, all you got to do is just hit BPR, and that will send everything into Keyshot. So we'll just wait a few minutes here. Things are going to get a little bit louder because my computer is going to basically be sweating, getting Keyshot to work right. Oh my God, it's 8:40 already. Oh, we might go a little over today. As they say, time flies when you're having fun. So Keyshot is loaded on my other screen. It's just loading the part, so I have to wait for it to happen. So this would be a great time to ask any questions that you have, because we're going to be waiting for all these models to get loaded into Keyshot. It shouldn't take that long, but it does take a few minutes. Still loading. This is going to tax my computer quite a bit, but it's fine. All right, let's see, do we have it yet? Nope, almost done. All right, Rupesh. How do you say hello in Indian? In Hindi, I guess I should say. All right, it's loading one of the bigger parts, so it's kind of chugging along, but it's going to get there. And this is kind of, I mean, it does take a few minutes to load all these things into Keyshot, but it's a lot better than exporting and importing and, dealing with it that way. It's just one button press and everything's in Keyshot. All right, merging parts, preparing geometry. I think we're almost there. Sorry you guys can't see this. I guess could I move this dialog box over? Yeah, you can move the dialog box over. So you can see here it's 100% done with setup. And come on. I hate it when things reach the end here and you still have to wait. But again, namaste, that's right. Namaste to you. So this is, this is taking a little bit of a time, but here we go. Oh, nope, it's starting over. All right, so now we're at 56. I'll bring this over so you guys can see. Okay, it's at 100% again. I think it's almost done. Oh man, everybody says this. Every stream I have, somebody says, I don't think ZBrush is the best software for hard surface. So I guess the best way to tell you is that I use it for hard surface all the time. So here's something that's done in ZBrush, rendered in ZBrush. It's hard surface. Here's something that's hard surface. Here's this mech that is in a Gnomon workshop that I made, all done in ZBrush, right? So I mean, I do organic stuff as well. Here's a car done in ZBrush, hard surface. Here's another one. Here's another render of it done in ZBrush. This actually I did in Moi, but this robot is done in ZBrush. Let's see, this mech in here is done in ZBrush. I've got kind of more hard here. This is 100% ZBrush. So you tell me. I use ZBrush for hard surface all the time. Actually, it's all I use for hard surface. I use Maya less and less because ZBrush is getting a lot of the functions that I need. There's some cool things happening with Blender, but if I want to do those specific things, I can use Blender. But for kind of creating stuff, this works really great. All right. So while this is, ZModeler, crease edges, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. So here's Keyshot. I think it's going to take a minute for Keyshot to think about it. And, let me maximize this to figure out that it's going to go in here. Come on, Keyshot, figure it out. Resize it, don't close it, whatever you do, because we don't want to wait again. So here's the spaceship in Keyshot, right? So here's everything brought in. I've got all the different objects listed over here. And I've got, let me, first things first, let's turn off ground shadows because this thing's not on the ground. And also, I want to rotate this 100, oops, don't want to do that. Let's put 180 here. Let's rotate this lighting so it works better. And we don't want ground shadows. I'm going to turn those off, right? We don't have a ground. This thing's in space. And you can already see how cool it looks. And then there's this weird bug in Keyshot. I told them about it, and hopefully they'll fix it in the next version. Should be out hopefully by the end of the year. That usually they have a yearly, but now I can rotate around. So here is the spaceship in all of its glory in Keyshot. And what I want, of course, is not this lit background. I want a darker background. And I'm also going to do some work with the materials. All right. So first things first, let's go ahead and hide. I'm going to bring this over a bit so I can see the names better. It's kind of hard to do with the... By the way, I should let you all know that I'm using a stylus with this. I'm using a Wacom tablet. And if you're going to use ZBrush, I highly recommend you use it with a tablet and not with a mouse. All right, so here we go. So I've got, let's see, front, lights, front. Okay, so let's see, what's this one right here? Let me hide this. And I might need a little bit more of this name. All right, so this is this front part, right? And here is the other front part, right? So this is the one with the checkered. I'm going to work on this one for now. And then where are the back parts? Lights, merged. Okay, this is one. Let's hide that one. All right, so this is basically the one we want. All right, so you can see here that the poly paint came right through into ZBrush, or into Keyshot, but it doesn't really look right. We're going to have to do a few things here to make it look right. But the thing I was talking to you about earlier is that since these are different poly groups now, what I can do here is I should be able to go into, and I'll just pick some metal here to show you this. So let's go to metals. And let's do aluminum, basic. And let's say I want this to be aluminum, so I can just drag and drop. Oh, how come isn't... Did it bring in the poly groups? I guess it didn't bring in the poly groups. That sucks. Or maybe I did an undo. I don't know. But this should, when I... Oh, that's right. Metals don't work with this. But the other materials will. So here, I'll do it with plastic. Forget. So if I do rough plastic and I do black here, I should be able to... Oh, come on. Oh, do I need to alt down? Nope. Yeah, if I alt down, it will actually replace the material with that material. So it's going to make it plastic, but it's going to keep the poly paint. So you can kind of see as I move it in that it's kind of changing the color. And I think there's one other thing I needed to do, I forgot to do, which is I think in ZBrush, here I'll just jump back in. I wonder if I can do this without having to, I think when I go to here to external renderer, yeah, I should say group by materials. I should have done that. I should have checked this box. All right, I'm going to do it again and just send these parts over. Let's see if this works. I'm going to hide these ones. I mean, you guys saw it already, so I don't need to really do this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and BPR it again. I don't think it's going to take that long this time. I needed to do one more thing. I'll do that. Might as well. So here, as soon as this is done, I'm going to cancel the import. Wait for the program to come back. Yes, cancel the import, I'm sure. Hopefully I didn't cause a disaster here. Everything's frozen. Oh. All right, that worked. Huh, scared there for a second. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pause this. The one more thing I needed to do here that I didn't do is that I needed to assign different materials to the different polygroups. So here, I can just choose this polygroup by Control-Shift clicking on it. Let me choose this brush, right? This polygroup. Come on, it is a polygroup. Am I on the? I'm not on the thing. Hang on. Oh. Yeah, I'm on this rear part. So here, let me go to the front. Yeah, so notice here that this is the only thing that's chosen now. And what I can do is I can go to MRGB here and just fill it with a material different than this. So I can just go in here, choose a different material. Like let's say I choose this gold material, right? And I can just say fill object. So MRGB, fill object. So now that's that gold material. I bring everything back. Let me solo this too, it might take less time. Right, so you can see here that this now has that gold material. And then if I click on this one right here, so I'll isolate this in a minute. So you can see that went away. And I don't know if this had a different material, but this would be a different material as well. So when it loads these into KeyShot, then each one of these objects will, or these poly-painted areas, would have a different material, and then I can assign different materials to them in KeyShot. So I'm just going to do it for this one right now. So let me go and unpause KeyShot real quick. It's unpaused, and I'm just going to do the BPR one more time. And this should take very little time because it's just going to update that one part. And now you can see here that I will be able to assign a different KeyShot material to this part because it's a different polypaint color. And I assigned a different material to it in ZBrush. So let's just wait a second for this to happen. It's just getting that one part. It's not going to do the whole thing. Come on, KeyShot. All right, we're still live. It's just going to take a second. All right. What's about okay? Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Dave Lamb, you were asking about how I built the ship. I'll just answer that real quick while we're waiting for this. You can always go to ZBrush Live, right, and find me. So go to Presenters, find me in the presenter list. And here are all the different, so we basically have been doing this for 10 weeks, a couple of hours every stream. So about 10 of these here, so 10 times 2, about 20 hours to get to last time. And we're going to do about 2.5 hours today, and that's the whole thing. So you can watch it all the way from the beginning, right? So hopefully that helps you, Dave, right? And then let's see, Chris Lazar is asking, let's read it rather, okay, yeah, definitely go ZBrush for hard surface. It's never too late to start learning it. It's a great program. All right, so now see, I can just drag and drop a material specifically just to that part, and now that part is going to be a different material. And it could be anything, right? So here I'll choose metal. And I can choose, like, let's say copper. And I can choose brushed copper, and that part will just be brushed copper, right? And not the entire ship. So that's kind of a cool trick. And let's see. Best software is the one you can get to do what you want done in. That's true. I agree with that. Also, I would add more to that is that I want to be able to do what I want to do and still be able to be creative, right? So a lot of these other kind of 3D software packages are so technical, and you got to learn so many different tweaks and knobs and stuff to turn that, by the time you're done figuring everything out, your creativity is gone. In ZBrush, you can get going right away. And I've got, I teach ZBrush in colleges, and a lot of my students, usually the ones that do really well in ZBrush are the ones that struggle with other programs. I mean, there are students that do well in all of them, but there are students that struggle in other programs. They struggle in Maya, they struggle in Houdini or whatever. but they really love working in ZBrush, and they notice that it's a lot like drawing, it's a lot like sculpting, so they really like it that way. So it's up to you. I mean, I know a lot of friends, a lot of them use different software. Some people are really amazing on the different software, and some people are really amazing in ZBrush. For a beginner who wants to work with character field, would you recommend start drawing anatomy on paper, straights? So BBF film production, I would always recommend that you get your fundamentals down, meaning that you do learn how to do figure drawing, that you learn how to draw, you learn all the fundamentals, and they're important. If you don't know those, nothing's going to, and no software is going to do that for you. So I would definitely recommend you start with the fundamentals. And then after that, everybody finds their brush, is the way I say it. So, some heroes of mine like gouache, that's their thing, right? They use gouache, they love gouache. Some heroes of mine, they like oil paints, right? They use oil paints. Some people like sculpting in clay. Some people like ZBrush. Some people like VR. Some people like doing it, using Houdini or whatever. So you can figure all that out by yourself, but definitely learn the fundamentals first, because if you don't know the fundamentals, then you're just going to be not able to do good things. All right, so now that we've got this in the state we want it in, now it just sent these two things. That's funny. We want everything back, so we are going to have to go through this one more time. I apologize. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're just going to go back, turn all this stuff back on. And I guess I don't need, well, I'm going to do the other one instead. I just figured I'm going to do the grayer one. Let's not solo this. And let's pick this basic material for now. Right, and we don't want this. We don't want that. And this is all we want. So we're going to send all this back into Keyshot. So we're going to do this one more time. Sorry, bear with me. We'll go into Keyshot and wait for all that stuff to load. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that if you are a beginner and you want to work in the character field, I would definitely recommend doing some figure drawings, some live figure drawings. Learn anatomy. Anatomy is very important for character work. And I would also maybe go into learn a little bit about costumes and look at different costuming and whatnot. Because characters aren't going to be naked; they're usually going to be wearing stuff. So if you're going to do historic stuff, you have to actually understand how clothing works. I would highly recommend you pick up my the 7 folds tutorial that I'm going to do on Gumroad for ZBrush for the new cloth features. Because that'll help you with clothing, and yeah. So I know a lot of artists that do amazing character work in ZBrush. I'll just bring one up while we're waiting for this. This happened yesterday, and it's really, really impressive. So. One of the kind of the bigwigs in this industry is an artist called Vitaly Bulgarov, and he does amazing character work. And if you guys want to see some really cool character work, check out his character designs for this game called Mortal Shell that he just did. So check this out. All this is done in ZBrush. Right? So this is basically kind of the top of the game, and you can see, I don't know if Cloth was out when he did these things, but he probably did some of these in ZBrush, maybe did them in Marvelous Designer at the time, but you can see armor, all this stuff is really kind of super, super impressive, and all this is done in ZBrush, right? Here's a ZBrush shot right here. So yeah, I'll just scroll through this. Let me see if Keyshot is done. It's done. All right, so you guys can go look. His name is Vitaly Bulgarov, and he's on ArtStation, and he just put this art dump in yesterday, and there are tons and tons of great images. So yeah, character work, hard surface work, all sorts of stuff you can use ZBrush for. Jewelry, I mean, you know, it's just an amazing, amazing tool. All right, so let's do this. Okay, so now the first thing I want to do here is I want to go ahead again, let's see if the floor shadows are off. That's good. This is at 180 degrees. Of course, we're not going to use this background. We're just going to start with a black background and start lighting it ourselves. So here, let me just go to Studio, Basic, and let's just choose 4K black background, like so. Just bring that in. And of course, now we're not going to see anything because we don't have any lights. Yeah, you can learn ZBrush pretty fast. There's plenty of stuff online. There's great schools that teach it. So I think if you want to learn and you're patient and you give it the right amount of time, like don't expect to learn ZBrush in a month. But you know, you got to give it a few years and then you'll be really good at it. I've been using ZBrush since 2005. All right, so here is this, and I'm just going to go ahead and choose 50% for, or let's see, the radius. I'm going to make it small because the light's usually coming from space somewhere far away. So let's try to see what 20 looks like. That's good, but let's increase the brightness to 10. All right, I'm liking the lighting there. All right, so let's move this around. And let's start kind of working with the materials. So I'm going to go to edit the material for this. And this is the material for it. And I'm going to do a few things here to make that material look better. First thing I'm going to do here is go to the textures here, go to this diffuse, and I'm going to upgrade to new node. And that makes it a little bit better. The apply paint show up a little bit better. And go to its properties, and let's just see what happens if we look at and change the roughness and all that. I don't know which object I'm on. Maybe I should do that first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hide all these. And now we're just looking at this part right here. Okay, so I'm going to edit that material. Okay, let's just make sure that this is upgraded to the new parts. This one, double click on it. Yep, it's the new node, so this is the matte cap. Let's just see it real quick. Yep, so now you can see it looks a lot better. And now I can start, you know, experimenting. So what if I want kind of a little bit more roughness on this material? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead. I usually do an ambient occlusion pass on this as well, but I forgot to do it. That's fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go ahead and find some different plastic materials. So not metal, but plastic. And let's say a textured plastic. And I'm going to add a textured plastic material to this. So it's going to be the same thing, but it's textured. And you can see now it has a little bit more teeth to it. And another thing I'm also going to do here is I'm going to go back to this material. And I'm going to, I need to excuse myself for a minute. I'll be right back again. All right, sorry about that. Okay, I'm back. All right, so the next thing I want to do here is I want to go ahead and let's go ahead and add. So I'm going to go to the material graph for it. Let's bring that over. Resize it so it fits the screen. like so. And what I want to do here is I want to do one other thing to kind of break up that kind of clean looking surface of it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a noise. So I'm going to add a, let's see, is granite? Should I use granite? Maybe just noise, a fractal noise here, like so. Am I using a 3D texture? Yep. Yeah, so noise, fractal, that's good. And what I want to do here is just add a utility, color. See, color to number, was it? Yep, color to number. Add this to here, like so, and add this to specular. Let's see what that does. All right, I kind of want to see the results, so I'm going to move this over, make it a bit smaller. All right, so now what I'm doing here is just adding a little bit of a specular texture to this, and I probably want to change the size, scale of this a little bit, so we can see what's going on. I'm going to move the spaceship down so I can see it. Yep, color, specular. I think I just need to find this right scale for it. Let's try 10. I can see it a little bit. It's kind of not as pronounced as I'd like it to be, but let me just kind of... I'm still not getting what I want. Center on model. Actually, it might be easy to just visualize this with bump. Let's try just adding it directly. Let's see here. All right, so now, here we go. So we're starting to kind of see it a little bit like this as a bump. I'm just doing this to get the scale. It's kind of a very narrow band within which I see it. So let's try 25. Usually, you know, this is easier to do because it's to scale. But since it's a spaceship and it's gigantic, I don't really have it at a scale. But I think it's kind of starting to show up. Okay, and let me just adjust the bump height a little bit more so it's more pronounced, and then we can see it. Let's go over to here. A little bit more. There we go. All right, so I want this exact thing, but I don't want it to be bump. I want it to actually change out the specularity. So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to delete it from bump. So now you can see that some of it is going to be shinier, and some of it is not going to be as shiny. All right, and then I'm going to choose... So it's kind of subtle, but you can still see it. And yeah, I think that's fine. All right. So there's the kind of the spaceship. And now what I want to do is let's bring up the rest of the parts here. Let's refresh the HDR. And let's start bringing in the different parts. All right, so the first thing I want to do also is I want to take this text. I think it kind of looks cool in white, but let's see what it looks like if it's black instead. I think it'd look better in white. Let's see what gray does. Gray, I think, is the winner. Okay, so there's that. And then let's do the lights. So that's going to really kind of pop it. So we'll go to lights here, and we'll just choose some area lights. And lights, there we go. these back into the lights area. All right. I accidentally moved the light away from where it was. So what we're going to choose is we're going to choose an area light, and let's choose this one and drag it over to lights. Okay, so now we have some lights, and let's do it to all the other lights as well. Lights, come on. This light to, where are you? Lights. Right, and then there's more. One. There's one more. How about this one? Okay, so there are the lights. And what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and bump up the power of these lights. So 1200 is too little. Let's go for 2000. Maybe that's a bit too much. All right, so here we go. All right, so now let's go ahead and work on these panels. So here, let's just go back to plastic. And just choose like a rough plastic for those. Ah, man. Actually, that kind of looks really cool. Happy accident. Let's just throw all the polypaint stuff away and just have this be the spaceship, kind of like a dark black. A bit lighter maybe. Let's add some color to it. Right, so that basically created a really kind of cool effect. But I guess the thing that I also forgot to do is I should have assigned different materials to the different panels here. But right now it's all the same material. So here I'm going to unlink the material. Unlink it. Where are you? Unlink material. Come on. How many materials do I have? Yeah, I think this thing just came in as one material, so I need to unlink the material. Here we go. Did that do it? And let's see if it did. Yep. All right, so here's that. And then I'm going to do the same thing to this one. And of course, for this, probably want to use something like a silver metal. Basic aluminum. Let's choose like a mesh. All right, so now we've got kind of this mesh material for these, and that's working well. And we've got the lights. So now I'm going to basically do some experimentation with the environment. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce like a big sun, right? So that's just a light. Make it yellow. All right. All right, so there's that yellow sun. I'm going to move it around until, all right, so let's say I'm kind of move this around until I see it. So there's that. So now I basically have this kind of maybe observing a sun, a solar type of scenario there. And I'm going to make the environment bigger. Right now the radius is 30. I'm going to go to 100 and do this. Maybe even more. Right, so there is kind of the sun, you know, like that. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pick a good angle. Like, let's say I want this spaceship looking like this, and I want the sun underneath. So I'm going to move the sun until it gets kind of underneath it. that. All right, and I can choose some different things here. Maybe I have a bigger fall off on this. Like so. I can move this somewhere else where it kind of is lighting up the spaceship, but I don't want to see it, right? So now I've got this composition of the spaceship kind of maybe being far away. I can make this bigger to the sun. Right, so now basically it's kind of maybe on top of a planet that's kind of more like this. Or I can choose a different angle, maybe like that. Move this to maybe the bottom. So it's lighting it up. And this whole time I've actually not been using like the most powerful rendering capabilities of Keyshot. I've been using things that are kind of, you know, random. And so now I regenerated the HDR. And what I want to do here is let's go ahead and turn on some cool effects. So let's go ahead and turn on bloom. That really kind of makes things shine a little bit more. Right. And here I'm trying to keep, you know, I want to keep the spaceship exactly where it is, and I can move these things around. So let's say the sun's kind of going to be over here, like so. Right, so let's say the ship is just kind of hanging out there and it's collecting kind of the power. And I can move this around to kind of get some interesting shadows on it. Maybe zoom in, like so. And just find like an interesting composition. So if I like this, I'll just do a screenshot of it. So that basically saves the settings. And then maybe I'll do one like this. That looks great, like that. Wait a few minutes till it's big. Oh, I might as well go and turn on some better lighting. So I'll go to product, or actually interior. These are all different settings that have better. But I can keep basic on and turn GI, global illumination, and that does some neat things. All right, so I'm getting some really interesting renders. So that's one way, one kind of way of doing it. And I'm going to wait until this is done, take a screenshot of it. So now I can kind of remember camera angles and everything like that. And now I don't want this sun anymore, so I'll go to the environment and delete that pin. And I want to bring in some background. So here I'm just going to go back to environment and go to settings. And for, you know, I can just try different colors here. So I can just see what it will look like with a dark gray background, like so. And maybe make that darker. So I've got kind of different settings of it, and I can move the light around. And find like a really cool composition. So basically now I'm just kind of like doing photography, basically, just finding cool angles. So this looks good, but I don't really see the silhouette, so I'm just going to add another light so I can get that rim light. Like so. Right, so now that basically creates a whole new kind of composition for it. Let's say this is done. Let's generate that HDR. And yeah. Right, so this is kind of a cool render. I'll keep that. Do a snapshot. And now let's bring in a background. Right, so it's asking me for a black plate image. And we'll just go in here and go to our backgrounds. And I'm going to bring in this black hole one. It's going to take a minute to load in, and there it is. All right, so now I've got this really cool background, and I got to match the light to where that background is, right? So let me just go to lighting environment for a second and adjust it. So the lighting's kind of in the back over here. Like so. And then this other one, I think I can just get rid of that one. Right, so I've got this lighting that's over back here. And this is my really powerful light. I'm going to add one more light and have it not be so powerful. Brightness of maybe 0.5. Okay, so now, but I don't need this background, so I'm going to go back to my backplate image and bring that in, right? So now I've got this look. And let's regen this. Right, so here's our spaceship kind of in a more of a exploring this black hole kind of a thing. Right, and we'll do a snapshot of that. Let's choose a different backdrop image. Right, so this is a different one, and maybe this one I'll just have it kind of be facing us. Like so, and then I'll just move the lights around to kind of light it in the way that I want to see different features of the spaceship. Right, maybe this one's kind of from the top. Right, so well, Keyshot, actually, the thing with Keyshot is that it did require a lot of power before to use it. So you'd have to have a really powerful computer to use it with powerful processors. But now it works with GPU, so you can go get a good GPU. Of course, that's still going to cost you a little bit of money, but a good GPU will, you can put that in your existing PC, and it will use the better GPU. And also, I mean, NVIDIA just announced the 390 or 3080 series, which looks really good. So, I mean, you can always kind of get maybe get two lesser ones or get a very powerful, badass one. And you can use those as well as, you can use the AMD has some interesting chips that you can use to basically, have multiple processors. I think that not Ryzen, but Threadripper, that's right. Threadripper chips are pretty good, so you can get kind of a bit of a powerful PC. But yeah, renders usually use a lot of processors, processing power. So I'm going to do something else with the camera. It's at 50 millimeters. I'm going to change this to an 80 millimeter. I can even probably go to 120 millimeter. And that kind of makes more sense to be looking at something like this. So that's all good. And then another cool thing here is that in Keyshot, let's see if I can do this. What you can do here is you can, let's see if it does have the option for me to do it, make a pattern. So I'm going to make a pattern of these spaceships, and let's just do an armada of them. And we'll just end it there. So let's say we're going to do a few instances. Let's say we're going to do 2 in the X, and 2 in the Y, and 2 in the Z. All right, and then we can just choose the spacing. And let's see, we can rotate them a little bit. Right, so now we've got a bunch of these spaceships, not just one. Maybe the distance in X is too much. Oh no, this is the number, sorry. And, oh, here we go, scattering. This is what I wanted. Just have them be displaced so they don't look like, you know. So I'm not using just one of these things now. I have a bunch of them on. And just kind of completely do the displacement and do a little bit of Y rotation here, like so. Adjust camera. Right, so now we're just looking at an armada of these things, and we can look at them from the top. I think that'll look pretty cool. There. So now we have a whole armada of them kind of doing their thing. All right, so with that, I think we will end this season. So this is season 3. So this was 11 different streams, 2 hours each. This one a little bit over. It's about half an hour over. So, yeah, I guess, you know, thank you for watching. And make sure that if you just tuned into this one, that you watch the previous ones to catch up to what happened. And I will be taking a little bit of a break, maybe a couple of weeks or a month off. And then I'll start out my next season, and for that I'm going to be doing a mech. Keep an eye out for my gumroads. I'm going to have that 7 folds thing out, and maybe a couple other things as well. So keep an eye out. I also, on my gumroad, I will have my UI colors for ZBrush. So here, I'm just going to pause this for a minute and go to ZBrush. So the UI colors here that I had, I've been promising to share those, and I will. I'll have a gumroad for them. They'll be free, so you'll just be able to download them from my gumroad along with my brushes. So there is my primitives insert mesh brush. There's a free version, and then there is one that has a few more. So I think it has basically all the cylinders and stuff. But I've got one version that has a few more pieces, and if you want to get that one, I think it's a nominal fee. So you can get those, and soon I will have the UI, and that's going to be free. And I also will have a kit bash kit with the kit bash duplicate feature that I used in my streams, so that'll be available as well. Again, to remember how to find my stuff, all you got to do is remember one website, and that website is Kermaco, KERMACO.com. And from there you can go to my Gumroad, and you can go to my Instagram and everything else. Okay? So with that and a very blurry camera image, let me see if I can make this any better. See if I can change this focus to manual. Here we go. All right, with that, I wish you all a good night. Stay safe, wear a mask, socially distance, and if you're in the US, get ready to vote. Okay, so voting season's coming up. Make sure you vote and make your voice heard. Thank you all for watching, and I will be back in about a month or so. So goodbye, everybody. Have a great night, morning, evening. Thanks again, and we'll